You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of January 25th, 2016 are about to head your way, so be sure to press that record button. As always, thank you for listening to and broadcasting Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have an excellent weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. Today we're on an entomology field trip, observing uninvited guests infesting your car. Don't break out the raid just yet, because when I come back, I'll show you how to take this pest to the cleaners. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The American race we all can win is independence from foreign oil, and the American ethanol industry's stepping up the pace. Scores of ethanol technology companies are already into the demonstration phase of production, proving that technologies which convert everything from corn stalks to grasses to garbage to algae are viable. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. It's everywhere. Junk in the trunk, trash on the dash, and litter literally everywhere in between. Looks like you've got a bad case of clutter bug, but the prognosis is good if you analyze and immunize. Analyze. Pretend you're selling your vehicle and take everything out. Carefully evaluate what you put back in and where you put it, cause even flashlights can be dangerous projectiles if stored on the dash. Then immunize. Exterminate clutter bugitis forever by sanitizing breeding grounds. That means resist leaving even one fast food bag in your car. Instead, give it a proper burial in a trash can and not on the street. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. More may be the plaintive cry of turbocharged consumers, but it's also the voice of your vehicle's engine. When I come back, I'll tell you what the automotive beast wants more of. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. American ethanol producers are fully engaged in the race to the next generation. Since the ethanol molecule is identical across sourcing types, many existing ethanol biorefineries are exploring bolt-on technologies that will enable production of ethanol from both grain starch and cellulosic material at the same facility. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Like consumers burn products and services and beg for more, so do vehicle engines burn gas and air and beg for more. And just like credit limits restrict buying power, so do limitations on number and size of cylinders reduce automotive power. Okay, so how do hungry engines get their power fix? Turbochargers. Here's how one works. Trapped exhaust air spins a turbine, which then turns an air pump, which compresses air. This squeezed air takes up less room, so more can be shoved into an engine's cylinders. When more air meets gas, kapow! More energy or horsepower is created. Thankfully, aftermarket turbochargers are readily available to feed the consumer beast. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. We all know men are from Mars and women are from Venus. At the service desk, who asks more questions, listens better, and makes decisions based on available information? When I come back, I'll tell you. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say, today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create. Also, in 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Move over, Mars. Venus is better at the service desk. Why? Many men believe they're born with car chromosomes or fix-it genes. They tend to tell service managers what's wrong. Trouble is, premature diagnosis could be faulty and expensive. But women relate what their cars do that they don't like. Women talk about symptoms like strange noises or sensations. Keep up the good work, ladies. Advice for Mars and Venus? Don't stop with descriptions. Take your technician for a spin. Let them see and feel what you're talking about. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Breathe deeply. Get in touch with your inner self and tap into all that energy. Aha! You think I'm talking about yoga, but it's really about cars. When I come back, I'll rev you up. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. The American race we all can win is independence from foreign oil, and the American ethanol industry's stepping up the pace. Scores of ethanol technology companies are already into the demonstration phase of production, proving that technologies which convert everything from corn stalks to grasses to garbage to algae are viable. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Top performance in humans and in cars depends on oxygen intake. But how do you know if your car's getting enough? That's the job of close pin-sized gadgets called oxygen sensors. When in tip-top shape, these monitors measure oxygen in the exhaust, then signal onboard computers to adjust fuel-air ratios in the engine for complete combustion. But worn sensors give faulty cues, resulting in poor performance, higher emissions, and lower gas mileage. So check out those sensors. Then you and your car can breathe easy. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Winter vacations. Skiing, sledding, hot chocolate in the lodge. But no such luck for transmission repair technicians. When I come back, I'll tell you why winter snowstorms keep transmission shops busy. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Grueling testing of E15, or 15% ethanol blended fuel, by the Department of Energy is in a league all its own. 86 vehicles were driven more than 6 million miles. That's 12 round trips to the moon. No discernible difference was found in engine wear between test fuels in model years 2001 and later. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Transmission shops are busiest after a heavy snowstorm because, think about it. What do we do when we're stuck in snow? If you said rock our cars back and forth from low gear to reverse, you're right. Unfortunately, for our cars and our wallets, we rock way too hard, resulting in overheated automatic transmissions and damaged universal joints. So the next time you're stuck in snow, easy does it. And remember, if you're really stuck, a tow truck may be cheaper than a new transmission. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Count down to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Count down to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Martin White. Welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What an exciting morning. Cold. And, of course, I shouldn't mention the cold weather because we're on the Gulf Coast of Florida. I can only imagine what it's like in D.C. and those states. And if you're tuned in around a cold area with a lot of snow on the ground, sit back and ride along with me this hour, and we'll talk cars, and we'll talk about how great it is to have a heater in a car and a defroster and all the things that are on your automobile that are supposed to work, and sometimes they just plain don't work, and you figure out, well, what am I doing wrong here? Am I pushing the right button or the wrong button? And in fact, we recently restarted, went back, it was a premiere on a local Blab television program. I'll tell you a little bit about that as we go along, but we're going to be doing segments on how to use the buttons in your car. Because believe it or not, people rarely know exactly how to use those buttons, and the later the model automobile, the more electronics are involved. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. When it comes to safety, there's nothing more important than your vehicle's brakes. You can trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose the brakes that are an exact fit for your vehicle. Brands you can trust like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermal Quiet at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back.
Did you just look down at your phone? You did it again, didn't you? You know, you're flying down the road in a 3-ton hunk of steel, and a text takes your eyes off the road for an average of 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's long enough to travel the length of a football field and cause some serious damage. Turn it off. Trust me, whatever it is, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextsstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
This vehicle maintenance spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Nothing's more important than your vehicle's brakes. Though there's no substitute for scheduled maintenance, also be on the lookout for signs of trouble, like your car pulling or a shuddering steering wheel. Trust the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts to help you choose the brakes that are an exact fit for your vehicle. Brands you trust like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermal Quiet at guaranteed low prices. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Today's fact is about the difference between cellulosic ethanol and advanced ethanol. Cellulose refers to the material comprising the cell walls of any green plant and is the most common organic compound found on Earth. Cellulosic ethanol is produced by turning the sugars in cellulose into alcohol fuel. Advanced ethanol, by comparison, is sourced from non-cellulosic feedstocks, including sugars and starches other than cornstarch. Upon EPA approval, advanced ethanol production from grain sorghum will give the nation another option as it aims to meet the federal goal of producing 36 billion gallons of renewable fuels per year by 2022. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Like Shakespeare, we ask the question, what's in a name? Ours is pretty blah. We're Geico, not to be confused with Gecko, a small tree lizard. And no, Geico doesn't have a sister company named Girlco. So, in the absence of a perfect name, focus group tested for hipness, we offer car insurance at a fair price. In 15 minutes, you could save 15%. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Our name may not be cool, but saving money always is. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
I tend to put things off. For example, I put off getting a home equity line of credit for a while. Then one day, when I should have been doing my laundry, I went to LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form and got 4 offers back within hours. Then I chose the line of credit that was right for me. Who knows? I may even get around to using it someday.
When banks compete, you win at LendingTree.com. Equal housing opportunity. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What we're going to do this morning is we're going to kind of shift gears and change and add on a little bit. So if you're tuned in to watch Bobby live, we'll be taking calls from that arena. And whether or not you know it, if you listen to radio, FM and or FM, we also global cast every Car Clinic show, video cast actually, and I'll wave at the camera. We have all HD video through our own channel at YouTube, through an agreement that we have with Google. And we, in addition to that channel, which is Bobby Likis, what is it, Kevin, YouTube/Bobby Likis, is that what it is?
Yes, sir, youtube.com/Bobby Likis.
Okay, thank you much. So in addition to that, there's a chat room there. And Jonathan, who does a fantastic job, Jonathan Sloan, will pass your calls or your questions on to Kevin, and then Kevin will read those to me. So whether you're tuned in over the airwaves or in your car or at home or on your computer at Watch Bobby Live, and to that end, we're going to go now to, not in the chat room and not in the United States, we're going to go to Lima, Peru, and I want to welcome Jay, who's called in live from Lima, Peru. Jay, welcome. Well, welcome back. It's glad to have you in the house.
Thank you very much, Bobby. Greetings from summertime here in Lima, Peru. And I borrowed my brother-in-law's car. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks. It's a 2008 Ford EcoSport. It's been working great. Last night I pulled into a spot and went to start it a minute later, and it wouldn't start at all. Turned it to, and all the instrument lights came on, and the anti-theft light flashes very quickly when I'm trying to start it in the spring-loaded position. And then during the night, the anti-theft light is on about every second and a half. So I kind of zoomed in on the anti-theft system as possibly being the problem. Another person told me he thought it was the starter. I work on older cars, as you know, so I'm not really in tune with the anti-theft systems. And I'm wondering if I'm looking in the right place, or there's definitely not a problem with the battery. We checked all that out. And what are your thoughts, Bobby?
Well, number one, the light that flashes is there just as a warning to let would-be people, armed people, or people that think that this car is vulnerable, that the car is armed. So a blinking armed light is fine, and that's not a problem. What I would do first is, just to eliminate that factor, is I would get out of the car, I would lock it with a key fob, and then look at that light, and that light's going to be flashing. And then I would unlock it with the key fob, and then I would get in the car and then, crank it from there. I guess, Jay, so that would, and then if the starter worked, then you would know that the security system is not the culprit. And therein lies my real first question. Do you have a cranking problem, or does it crank over and won't light off?
No, sir. It won't crank at all. I go
okay.
to the spring-loaded position, and nothing.
Well, that leads me to believe that if there's nothing happening there, I mean, there's two different. I could go a lot of ways, but there are two things that I think of. Did you try to, of course, turn the key on and step on the brake, and then put the vehicle in neutral? And have you tried to crank it in neutral with your foot on the brake?
Yes, sir. I did all that.
Yeah,
I went to all the different gear positions, and still nothing.
Then I'm going to lean toward a starter, and believe that it could be a starter. And even though the battery is good, you could have a ground issue, because that starter requires quite a bit of current, and so you could have headlights. Here's what I think you should do. Turn the headlights on manually, because a lot of cars have that automatic feature, but turn the headlights on manually, and then or else blow the horn, and then go to the start mode. And if the headlights stay bright and the horn stays bright and loud, then you'll know that the car doesn't know that you're asking for it to be started. Now, we already know that the car doesn't know, but is it the starter, or is it the ignition solenoid, or is it voltage that's not coming through the neutral safety switch, or all the above? And really, that's where someone's going to have to diagnose it. The good news is you can use a scan tool. The bad news is you're going to have it towed to a shop to have it repaired.
Yes, sir. Hey, that's a good idea, Bobby. I didn't think about cranking it and looking at lights dimming and things like that. Trying to take the load. That's a good idea.
Well, it definitely will tell you whether or not, because you think the battery's all up to par and those sorts of things. We recently had a challenge the first challenge with our smart car, and literally, other than a taillight printed circuit board, it was the only challenge. And yours truly pulled it into the garage and washed it because it was too cold outside, and it would not crank afterwards. And there were also, where you put it in park, neutral, or reverse, the little digital readout on the dash, there were 3 bars. And those 3 bars indicate a trouble code for the smart car. Ultimately, it was and this is really cool, but Jay, and again, it's the only problem that we've had with a smart car. The problem was the Hall effect gear shift. And even though they're moving parts, when you move the lever, there were magnets and wires and a computer board in the shifter itself, and that little board was the size in diameter of the pack of cigarettes, but yet it was only about 1/8 of an inch thick with 2 different plugs. It was a very minor looking board, but very sophisticated, and that was the problem. When we ordered that piece, the complete shifter assembly came with it. It was really, I've saved it because I just marvel. And it wasn't that expensive. It really wasn't. So, as I said, that's the first real problem that we had with the Smart, and it's an '08, and it was an electronic problem. We found that using our scan tool and Zach Cash, who is our ASE certified, and by the way, this week he passed his final of 8, and he is now a master certified ASE technician. We're all excited about that. Jay, thank you so much for calling from Lima, Peru. You may not know a lot about cars, but you know a lot about airplanes, right?
Bobby, yeah, it's summertime down here, so it's about 85 degrees, and I know you all have been having some pretty cold weather there, so we'll be coming back to cold weather in about a week.
Okay,
and
my
thanks
friend.
for your help, Bobby. I
All right,
really
thank
do
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thanks for calling. Good luck. Well, folks, it just doesn't get any better than that. That's a great way to start the program out from Lima, Peru. The next caller up is going to be Mike. We're taking them in the order that they came. Mike, with a 2001 Honda Accord. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning there, Bobby.
Morning, sir.
Yeah, it's 34 degrees out, just about the same place you are. Hey, I've got this '01 Accord. It's got 174,000 miles,
Okay.
a little four-cylinder automatic transmission. And over the last few thousand miles, I have noticed that the transmission shift from first to second generally results in, it depends on the throttle or how cold the oil is, but results in a very slight overrun. In other words, it doesn't shift the same as second to third, third to fourth.
Yeah, buzz up. In other words, the engine goes. You're
Just
saying
a little
the engine
bit.
buzzes
Just
up.
a little bit,
Yeah,
not much. And the I've changed the transmission fluid. I got the car to 101,000 miles, and that sounds like, wow, boy, you're really taking a chance. Car's perfect, and it was a little old lady that really did own that car. But the transmission fluid is just as clean and bright. But one of the mechanics that down the street from where you are is a master Honda mechanic, said put the Dex 3 in there. It gives you a little bit firmer shift, and had not to use the factory recommended fluid because it gives you a smoother shift. But they've had some problems with the torque of the V6 engines and stuff. So,
well, it's worth
anyway,
it.
I've just been running the Dex 4 or whatever Dex I can get.
Well, here's a real, and that's not a bad idea. We use, and we'll talk out of both sides of my mouth. In our racing industry, we use synthetics because synthetics are superior. Having said that, the synthetics for racing have different formulations from synthetics for street automobiles and for transmissions. Years ago, there was a transmission fluid. It was blue, but only because they wanted to be set different, and it was called Quick Shift, and it had different EP qualities, which means that when you put it in a regular transmission, the clutches would bam, bam, bam. They would really pop together because it didn't have the same lubricity per se. So you know what, Mike? That's not a bad idea to put like a conventional fluid in place of a synthetic fluid. You certainly can try that, and then try a sealed conditioner and see what that happens. And folks, don't touch the dial.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
Denso has a tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit first time, every time. Like Denso's new Iridium TT spark plugs. The patented formula features the highest iridium concentration of any spark plug and outperforms in the most severe engine temperatures, resisting oxidation and voltage wear. Denso Iridium TTs give you the power and torque found in some of the most powerful engines on the road. You'll think you're in a new car. No other spark plugs give you this much performance while lasting over 100,000 miles. The Iridium TT's more complete combustion means superior fuel economy and fewer carbon emissions. Better for your wallet, better for the environment. And Denso's proprietary 360-degree laser welding process creates a high-quality bond that ensures structural support. Denso Iridium TT spark plugs, they're that good. To find your nearest dealer, go to densott.com. And now through March 31st, Denso is offering up to $16 back on the purchase of their new Iridium TT spark plugs.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Folks, I've heard from many of you regarding ethanol and ethanol subsidies, both here on Car Clinic Network program and also via email. So I'd like to address the issue of subsidy, which appears to be some confusion there. First and foremost, there is no corn ethanol subsidy. The volumetric ethanol excise tax credit, also known as the blender's tax credit, expired 5 years ago in 2011. Further, it was gasoline blenders, not ethanol producers, who received a 45-cent per gallon tax credit for each gallon of ethanol blended. The small ethanol producer tax credit also expired in 2011. Secondly, the Renewable Fuel Standard, the RFS as it's known, is not a subsidy. The RFS is not a tax incentive or subsidy in any way, shape, form, or fashion. The RFS has absolutely no impact on the federal budget or tax revenues. Rather, the RFS is a program that guarantees lower carbon biofuels will have access to the fuel market that is overwhelmingly and unfairly dominated by petroleum. Number 3, there is also no such thing as a corn ethanol mandate, let alone an ethanol mandate. The RFS does not mandate the use of corn ethanol, or any other type of ethanol for that matter. Rather, the RFS requires that oil companies blend increasing volumes of renewable fuels without specifying the type of renewable fuel. In fact, oil companies may meet their RFS obligations by blending and marketing biogas, renewable diesel, renewable jet fuel, biobutanol, biodiesel, and a host of other renewable fuel options. While a wide variety of renewable fuels are being produced today, ethanol has been the highest volume and lowest cost renewable fuel available to meet RFS requirements. Number 4, what about oil subsidies? While the ethanol industry does not receive any federal subsidies or tax breaks, the oil industry continues to receive an estimated $4 to $5 billion annually in tax breaks, including some programs that have existed for more than a century. In 1916, a full century ago, Congress created the Intangible Drilling Cost Provision. This allows oil companies to write off up to 70% of their drilling cost and depreciate the rest. And then in 1926, Congress created the depletion allowance, which effectively modified the tax code to account for the depletion of oil reserves. Under the provision, an oil producer may deduct 15% of any gross income from a well. Unlike normal depreciation, this depreciation may be claimed by oil companies indefinitely. The domestic manufacturing deduction was extended to oil companies in 2004. The oil industry receives other sundry tax incentives, subsidies, and breaks, including the foreign tax credit. That's credit for production of non-conventional fuels, credit for enhanced oil recovery costs, and others. This information directly to you from yours truly, Bobby Likis, courtesy of and source of the Renewable Fuels Association in Washington, D.C. I hope that clears up some of the myths and misunderstandings with regard to subsidies that truly are not there for ethanol or corn ethanol or any mandates thereof. Thank you, and now let's go back to the phones. Jim from Michigan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
Well, right at the end when you pointed out that it opens up the new door on ethanol, one of the candidates from the Republican Party says that he will endorse ethanol if he's president. Now, I can't remember which guy that was, but Bobby, the new election could be just your cup of tea.
Well, I think it's what's really interesting about that. Of course, with the Iowa, that's really a huge topic. So a lot of folks are jumping through hoops right now. We'll just see what really happens. But the bottom line, it's not, as I said, it being renewable fuels. It's not all about ethanol. It's just that ethanol is the lowest cost, most readily available additive and fuel, renewable fuel that we have. And even and I'll just say this, and then we'll get on to the news, because Mike and Howard and Kevin are holding, and I'm going to answer everyone's questions today. The bottom line, if there were no benefits to ethanol other than the fact that it was a wash, I mean financial benefits, would you rather put the money offshore or keep it with our farmers? So
we definitely want to keep it at home with our farmers.
Well, and why not? So for me, it's a no-brainer, and I'm open, absolutely always open to a dialogue or to a conversation, but as long as we're talking about the facts and not about some next-door neighbor that had a friend that lived next door to a friend that had a boat one time that all corroded up because of that stuff. In fact, it's a joke around the shop whenever we have like an electronic box or some, right in the middle, or even a flat tire. I'll look at my guy and I say, "That's that darn ethanol." And it is a lot of fun, because we poke fun, because now the longer we use ethanol and the more we use ethanol, the more it proves there are no problems with that fuel. But let's get on to your topic, Jim, our Car Clinic reporter from Michigan. What's up today?
Okay, the one topic we have, since you got a lot of callers, is the Bridgestone tire manufacturers. They're producing a tire that when it goes flat, you can still continue on your journey without having to pull over on the side of the road and worry about a pickup. More tire manufacturers today are putting the run flat tires on your car. What about a poor person that just doesn't have the energy to pump up the jack and is frightened on the highway? You can get them off safer. You're still driving a full-size tire. To me, that's better than riding a bicycle tire.
I would agree. I would agree with that. I would also say that those tires are more expensive because they have a stiffer sidewall. And if I had my choice, and I've done this with the Mini Cooper that I had, I chose not to get the run flat tires, only for personal reasons. But you're definitely right with regard to the security and the safety and the convenience of having a run flat tire, because it'll get you on to the next stop and the next exit where you can get it repaired. What else did you bring us today?
Okay, that's just about it. But Bridgestone did incorporate with BMW in collaboration with their tires, and as we both agreed, they are safer. And the reason I kept it down to one report today, I want you to get as many calls as you can, and I'm glad to be a part of the show. It's one of the best in the USA, if not the best. And today wraps up our auto show. The weekend concludes. Lincoln got a big applause for what they did with their car. The only thing I missed in the Lincoln was the bench seat. It's still bucket seats, but they're luxuriously comfortable. They can massage you. And if you're sitting in the back seat and the guy ahead of you is too close, you get to override him and push the button forward that pushes their seat
That's pretty
closer, so you got more room for your legs. And that, to me, is a neat feature.
Well, I agree with that, and I'm glad to see that Lincoln's moving forward. They kind of lost their way, and they were late. They were latecomers coming back from the old style body, and we'll just see how that car hits the market and how it sells. Again, Jim, thanks so much for your call, and always a pleasure to hear from you in Michigan.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good day.
Now let's go to Kansas from Michigan and talk to Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Yeah, Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling you about my compass. I've talked to you about it before. I had it serviced, and it's been kind of cold here, and my gas mileage has went down.
Well,
I was supposed to get 27. I'm getting 24. It's kind of windy and things, and I'm wondering if I have problems. They told me it's probably because of the steel additives in the wintertime.
Well, you are running the lowest octane. I mean, you're running 87 octane, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You will not get the same gas mileage in the wintertime unless you had a controlled track experience. And by that, I mean you bring the engine up to operating temperature, you clear the MPG, you're on a test track, and you're going round and round and round and round. Well, that's not the way we drive. So you have to warm the engine, so it takes longer to get the engine up. In fact, if you're a regular listener to Car Clinic, you know that recently I talked about, and I actually met with Stant at SEMA last year and talked about electronically assisted thermostats that has the computer that affects and controls the engine temperature, because a standard better than a standard thermostat, because what you want is no circulation from the radiator on the engine until you get the engine up to operating temperature. The challenge with that is you have to circulate the water within the block, because the cylinder head gets hot and the bottom of the block does not get hot. So now manufacturers have two thermostats. One thermostat controls the cylinder head temp, the other thermostat controls the block temp, and yet they both use the same hose or hoses coming and going to the radiator, and the same water pump. So it's a very sophisticated, so much so, Mike, that it's very difficult and I'm talking Nissan specifically, it's very difficult to bleed the air out of those automobiles. And so the manufacturers and the engineers, rather, have come out with, and you'll see more of this, electronically controlled thermostats where the computer automatically reads the wannabe temperature, because they have the computer program, and the actual temperature, and controls the opening of the thermostat, because a thermostat's spring and motor, a spring closes the thermostat. The little motor, which is a wax unit, and and you hear me talking about the Superstat from Stant, which is a fantastic unit. That motor, it's called, and it uses a weir valve, and I won't get technical except to tell you that as it warms, it starts to open. Just like you watch water coming up to boiling point. It doesn't go from 100 degrees to 212 like that. It's like an engine. If you're running down the road and your oil pressure is 70 psi or 50 psi, and the gauge flickers and goes to zero and back up, you know it's got to be the gauge, because oil pressure cannot accumulatively go from 80 psi to zero and back in a flash. Neither can temperature. So, having said that, what they're doing, and this will affect not your car, and I don't think that you've got a problem, so I agree with your locals there. But I just want you to understand that what the electrically assisted thermostat will do is it will allow the engine to build even higher engine temperatures before the thermostat starts to open, because it electronically controls that immediate opening and closing. And if it fails, the thermostat will act normal and regular and still work. And so it's having the best of both worlds. I'm glad you called me. I do not think you have a problem. Feel free to reach back to me any Saturday right here on Car Clinic, 10 till noon. I'll take your calls, folks, at 888-227-2546. You have places to go, people to see, and things to do 365 days a year. And there's one tire that will get you there, no matter the adventure. General Tire's new Altimax RT43. The all-season tire designed for a quiet, comfortable ride that includes industry-leading Smart View technologies. Let General Tire give you the reliability, performance, and traction you demand. For more information, visit GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Just remember, folks, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you live on your favorite local AM and or FM radio stations. Also at watchbobbylive.com, which is our global video cast. And if you happen to be in the Watch Bobby Live, we'll take your calls. We're going to add that feature to our program because we have so many people that would like to ask a question, and you have to call the 800 number and yada, yada. But the bottom line is, if you do have a question and you're tuned in to Watch Bobby Live, you can relay that. Let Jonathan know. Jonathan will pass that on to Kevin, and Mr. Sapp will again ask me that question. I'll do my best to answer your questions coming up. I'm going to go to Howard, then Kevin, and then your questions at 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. I would be remiss if I didn't welcome Miss Jan back today. She's sitting in for Allison, who had to have an emergency leave. I think her cat had to have a bath. And so Jan is here, and Miss Jan, thank you so much. So for folks, for those of you who have listened to Car Clinic for years and years and years, Miss Jan's in the house today at 888-227-2546. Howard, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call, Bobby.
Sure.
I've been changing my oil and oil filters ever since I had a 50 Wayfarer Dodge, which didn't have an oil filter, by the way. Recently I purchased a 2015 Camry, and it doesn't have the spin-on oil filter.
Right.
Now, my question to you is, I was in Pep Boys, and I'm looking for a tool to take off that oil filter.
Mm-hmm.
I Googled it on the internet, and I found out you have to have a specific tool.
Yes, sir.
And my question to you is, where do I get this tool? And is it very hard, or can I screw up something?
No, it's not hard at all. It's a canister filter, and more and more engineers are going to that type of filter. I'm trying to think. You see, our tool men come to us. We have a Cornwell, and James runs the Cornwell tool truck. He's he's just a fine gentleman and visits us on a regular basis. So I would touch base with a local service shop in your area, because there's not a technician in any new car dealership or any independent store or chain store for that matter that doesn't have almost a daily contact, or at least a weekly contact, with a tool truck that comes by. Now, you also should be able to Google. You got to make sure that you put in your Camry and your engine size, whatever size it is, and you Google oil filter tool, and you can, once you get that number, you can order it from Amazon. And I've had I look for reasons to buy from Amazon, and I mean, really, I do. And it's not a day, not a week goes by as a rule that I don't buy something from Amazon. This past week, I had a customer who had an 07 Altima. And this lady is 90 years old. She still converses and drives. It's just unbelievable how cognizant she is and aware and what have you. And Mary is her name. And she came to me, she said, where can I get an owner's manual? I just bought this car. Gosh, I said, well, I thought about Helm Inc. and I thought about all those things. I said, I don't know. Let me look at Amazon. Well, wouldn't you know, for $26 and some odd cents, not only did I get an original equipment owner's manual for her Altima, and there was one there for $18, but I elected to buy this one because it was nicer. Came with the leather binder, the whole 9 yards. I was blown away. And so you can find it on Amazon. So if I were you, you would do that, and then you could change the canister out. Here is a warning. When you remove that canister that screws into the engine block has around its collar an O-ring. Have you ever seen one of those off when they were changing your oil of the car?
No, I saw it on the internet. I saw
Okay.
that O-ring. That has to be changed out, correct?
It does. And therein lies the gotcha. And this is information for all technicians out there. If you see someone using a screwdriver to dig down into that groove, just like a ring groove, and pry that rubber out, that's a no-no. You're not supposed to use any tool, because if you use a tool to get in behind that rubber O-ring, and some people would say, well, how else am I going to get it out? If you use a tool to get in behind the O-ring, you push it down and go under the O-ring, you scratch the underside belly, the contact area where the O-ring seals on the inside, its inside diameter. I've seen this. I've actually had shop meetings on this, and we've actually had a challenge with this on a couple of cars. Our fault. And so, and these are trained people who change oil and filter. I can only imagine how it's done with untrained people that are trying to dig that O-ring out and it won't come out. Here's what you do. Just like you would pinch your belt on your waist, and then that would allow you to have a little bubble or a space or air gap. You would likewise, if you had to take a paper towel because the oil is too slick, you would do the same thing. You would take your thumb and forefinger or two thumbs and you roll at maybe 2 inches apart. You would push the O-ring toward itself. And I hope I'm making myself clear. And Kevin, you let me know because you're not a car guy. You let me know if you understand.
I think it makes sense.
What I'm saying is you pinch that O-ring so then you have it kind of puckers its lip and it comes away from the underside. Then you can reach in with a little mini screwdriver or any little tool, even a paper clip, and you catch the O-ring without touching the surface that O-ring rides on. And I will challenge anyone that uses a tool to replace an O-ring on any car. And folks, if you've got a car that has a canister O-ring like Howard, the next time the oil is changed, you tell them you want to watch. Don't say anything. It's, can I watch you change the filter on my car? And you now, having said that, Porsche has a little tiny 1/8 inch window. It's got bead and it's got a groove, but it has a 1/8 inch window where you can not have to dig down. You can go in from the same side and easily slip under the O-ring. But that's only because I know they had multiple problems with oil leakage after they had the oil filter changed. So that's a big sticky point with me because it hits close to home, and I don't know how many cars out there have had O-rings leaking. So I would warn you that, Howard. Otherwise, have at it. You replace that O-ring, and just know this. You must wipe out the surface of the block, and then you must put a little fresh oil with your finger on the surface of the block because that O-ring has to, as you screw that you put the new filter in, it just pushes in. As you screw that cap or that canister back in, and it's usually made out of Bakelite material or some plastic, as you screw that back in, it forces itself to seal on the walls of the hole that it goes into the block. And maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of this, but not so because my car has that same type of seal, and I'm very aware of our customers' cars the same way. So buy your tool. If you find the tool online, which you can Google that in Amazon. And if Amazon, and then with Amazon you have recourse. That's what I love about Amazon. If you don't like something that you get from Amazon, you let Amazon know, or you just let the buyer, the seller know, and there's reviews there on the seller on Amazon. I can't say the same about eBay, but then again, I had a bad experience. Maybe I'm prejudging them, but I will tell you, I love to buy from Amazon because I get immediate response. And one time I bought from Amazon, and it was a iPhone cover out of China, and I didn't get it in time, and I sent a note to the seller, and I got an email that couldn't even speak straight English, but said, "Sorry for confusion, we'll send soon." I was really impressed. Why? Because Amazon runs a good ship. Anyway, thanks for your call, Howard.
How tight should you put that filter on? Should you hand tighten it?
Well, that's a good question. Once it is screwed in place by hand, it's already sealed. How tight it is has nothing to do with the seal because the seal is captured within the walls of the cylinder and the groove that I'm speaking of already. So the only reason you would tighten it at all is to bottom it out, and then I would say give it a 20-inch pound or maybe hand tight plus an eighth of a turn. You'll know because it'll grunt, and when I say grunt, you'll feel like it hits the bottom. Unlike a washer or a crush ring where you have to tighten a nut down to crush the new washer, and how tightly do you tighten it down? When you have a canister, you're just going the metal or canister against the block because the seal is long since sealed because that's just it's just reaching the bottom of its travel. Once you take it apart, you'll see what I'm talking about. So just make sure it's tight with a grunt.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your help.
You're welcome. With a grunt. What is a grunt? Kevin, maybe Kevin knows what a grunt is. Kevin, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What is a grunt?
A grunt?
Yeah, a grunt. You know, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I do. Well, man, a grunt's usually a Marine.
Oh, well, that's what Miss Jan said the same thing. Well, a grunt is like, okay, let's get on to your question. You got an 05 Infiniti QX56. I started to buy one of those, and I didn't because it was so big. We didn't have a dealer in Pensacola, Florida, and we still don't. But I will tell you, I think it's a beautiful, and the new QX80 is, as I understand, a killer luxury vehicle. So tell me about yours.
Absolutely, but it's got a killer price tag on it too.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to get one, but hey, so what?
All right.
All right.
What happened is I took it to get the oil changed, and the folks at the oil change place broke my radiator, and that thing is under constant pressure. They broke what on the old Chevrolets and stuff was the overflow tube at the top of it. Well, that whole entire radiator is pressurized. Anyway, that's not. I had to change out the radiator. They wanted $800 to change it.
Right.
And so I got the radiator offline for like $120.
Okay.
And just changed it out myself.
Okay, sir.
Well, when I did that, I lost some transmission fluid, and I went and got the recommended transmission fluid.
Right.
Put back into the vehicle, and cranked it, and it was slipping a little bit. Like when I went from park to drive, it would take a second to actually engage, and then when I hit the gas, it would rev a little bit before it went into gear.
Well,
prior to this, I have never had any trouble with this thing,
pressure,
although it's got 235,000 miles.
Okay,
on it.
you didn't try to force it. In other words, so you haven't done anything to fix that yet, right?
No, sir. Once I thought it was the fluid level, it's difficult to check the fluid level on this thing the way that dipstick is coming out of there.
I was going to ask you about that.
So I just took it to Nissan, and I had them change the fluid themselves.
Okay.
So that I had fresh fluid in it,
Yes,
and supposedly had the correct level because this is basically a Nissan anyway.
Right. Well,
but it's still doing it.
Coincidence. It has to be coincidence, or else. You didn't have enough fluid in it, and you're trying to make it work. It caused damage there. Let me say this: we recently bought a tool, and one of my ASE service techs walked over to me and said, "Let me show you something." And he showed me the scan tool temperature, which was at that time 187 degrees. It was just this week. And he said, here's the level on the tool, because although there was a dipstick tube, there was no dipstick in this vehicle. So we bought a tool that you use for this particular vehicle, and it has different levels for different vehicles, but you have to use a scan tool to get the temperature of the transmission up to a specific temperature, because the hotter it is, the more fluid you have, expands. And at 187, it was right on the money. So I think that you may have had too little fluid in it, because the radiator, the fact that you changed the radiator had nothing to do with whether or not the transmission worked or not. The fact that they lost some fluid in the cooler could definitely have an effect on it. So, so what's your question to me? I mean, let's just say that you got a transmission problem. I don't know.
I was talking with a gentleman that builds radiators, race car radiators for a living, and he said that this thing had some kind of the computer on it that tells it when to shift and whatnot. And he said that it may still be reading that it's still low on fluid. And I took it to Nissan and had them look at the computer. They said all the updates had been on it, and that's not the problem. So I was just trying to. I was hoping it wasn't the transmission, but
Yeah, I understand. Your Nissan people are right. There's a thermostat that controls the flow of transmission fluid. When we perform a fluid service on a Ford, it's difficult because the thermostat won't let us get the flow that we want, so we have to wait and wait and wait. Bad news, but I think your Nissan dealer is right. And folks, with that, I'm out of here. Thanks for tuning in this hour.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
In the service bay this week is a 2012 Ford Mustang. The vehicle is idling rough, hesitating at stops, and the fuel trim is out of spec. Oil is dark and overdue. The car has not been maintained properly and is, to no surprise, not running well. Our diagnosis? We believe it's the fuel system, not just dirty, beyond dirty. Carbon has built up on the back of the intake valves and needs to be removed. The solution? New Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. Fuel Pro Complete is a professional fuel system cleaning kit that's easy for DIYers to use. It's a simple two-step system and takes just 5 minutes. Most fuel system cleaners only clean through the gas tank. Fuel Pro Complete also cleans through the vacuum line, bypassing intake sensors to avoid any potential damage. The result? No more rough idles or acceleration hesitation with improved power and performance. Visit FuelProComplete.com for more information, including a demo video and port locator with a list of vehicle makes and models.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bob, what's new? Last month I'm in Africa. When this wildebeest charges me, we butt heads and he's history. After I pull my guide from the jaws of an alligator, I dig into some beef jerky. I get heartburn. I take out my Rolaids as I'm fighting off a wild boar. In under 10 seconds it starts working. Then the boar is bye-bye. My heartburn's gone.
Rolade starts working in under 10 seconds? You expect me to believe that?
It's true. Rolade starts neutralizing acid in under 10 seconds. ROLAIDS spells relief. Use as directed.
While Johnny Kim was getting ready for the first customers of the day, someone else was looking at Larger's face for his growing business. At 3 o'clock, while the Curtis family was watching their daughter's soccer game, someone else was walking a prospective tenant through one of their apartment buildings. And while Carmen Delabar was preparing for a fashion show, someone else met with an appraiser about her investment property. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you, Marty White. That's Marty White. He's actually retired, but he was and still is the local celebrity on the Gulf Coast of Florida, and just has done a fantastic job. I think I remember Marty more for his love of fishing and hunting. And, some guys are really, really into that. So, Kevin, have you ever been fishing or hunting?
I have not, no, actually, which is weird considering I grew up in the rural part of this area.
Now, folks, here's a fellow that we called one day, and we had to call one of our winners of our contest, and the call didn't go through. And I am going to tell the story again. And Kevin kept calling the 7-digit, whatever the area code was, and after the show was over, we couldn't figure out why it didn't work. And Kevin had ever dialed the 1 first, because Kevin, you never actually used the landline on a telephone, right?
Not really, no. Never for myself, no.
So there's that something. You talk about a generation gap. It's great to have Kevin Sapp, and Kevin really runs the board and does a great job. A fantastic asset to the team, and he's in his 20s, early 20s. And Jonathan Sloan he's 15 years old, does a great job. And today we're honored to have Miss Jan back in the house. She's been with me for 18 years, and she's filling in for Allison. And I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Pay a mechanic $100 for fuel system cleaning, or clean it yourself like a pro for $30. Rid your fuel system of performance-crippling carbon deposits and take back the power of your engine with new Fuel Pro Complete from Motor Medic. In 2 easy steps in 5 minutes, Fuel Pro Complete restores power, eliminates knocking, pinging, and rough idling, plus improves fuel economy. Fuel Pro Complete, the professional fuel system cleaning kit from Motor Medic. Get it today at participating O'Reilly Auto Parts and AutoZone stores. You've heard me talk about batteries with PowerFrame grid technology inside. They're stronger, more durable, and keep you going longer. Now, through February 29th, you can save $10 instantly with a purchase of an Autocraft Gold or Autocraft Platinum AGM battery at Advance Auto Parts or CarQuest. Visit the Where to Buy section at PowerFrame.com for more information, including the coupon code. Remember, the PowerFrame logo on the outside of your battery means true strength on the inside. Find your coupon at PowerFrame.com. This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the Ultimax RT43, a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Why do vehicles come with a tire that's rated to 150 miles per hour when everyday drivers don't drive that fast? A tire speed rating indicates the maximum speed a tire is rated to spin before failure to perform as designed. But more than that, as speed ratings increase, tires are designed to perform better during conditions such as cornering, braking, and in emergency maneuvers. That's why you may find a V speed-rated tire on a vehicle that's electronically limited to a lesser speed. For the best performance, replace worn tires with the speed rating recommended by the vehicle manufacturer. The Ultimax RT43 is a stylish, all-season tire designed for a quiet, comfortable ride. And with technologically advanced features like replacement tire monitor and visual alignment indicator, the Ultimax RT43 really is a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Learn more at GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a face. And Regency Hospice delivers more faces to you and your loved one when life matters most. Faces of nurses, nursing assistants, social workers, and chaplains. Regency's skilled, compassionate professionals deliver comfort and individualized care. When that time of life comes to you, Regency Hospice will be there for you. Go to RegencyHospice.com for more, including Hospice for Heroes Veterans Recognition Program.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to share some information after I take a call from Jimmy. And I see that Tom has a question with the Prius. And then Miss Jan will take your calls at our toll-free number, which is 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. And then I'll share with you how you can save $10 on an Autocraft battery that has the PowerFrame grid technology inside. And then I'm going to share with you about GM, and they have their bi-fuel Chevrolet Impalas. And then also Apple. Is Apple actually building a car? Well, there's some evidence, pretty powerful evidence, that they indeed are. So I'll share that with you. And I have some info for fun that I've been sitting on for a couple of weeks, auto insurance discounts that just may save you some money. And I really didn't know that this exists. And it's the questions that you don't know what to ask, like going to a doctor, that really get you. And that's how I bring a value to you, a car owner, because I'm here to give you buzzwords, not to fix your car. I can't do that. I mean, I can help, and yeah, I get lucky sometimes. But the bottom line is that I'm here to share buzzwords with you that help you better communicate with your local service provider in your town, whether it's Washington and Moses Lake, Washington, or San Luis Obispo, California, or wherever. So speaking of wherever, let's go to Mississippi. And Jimmy has been holding. So, Jimmy, welcome. Thank you for holding. You first in, certainly. So you're first up. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
All right, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. And yourself?
I got a 95 Chevy Monte Carlo,
okay,
3.1 engine in it.
Right.
And the key, when you cut, it's got the little chip to it.
Right.
Okay, sometimes it'll crank up, and then sometimes it won't. Okay, the cord package is good. I had it tested, the cord package.
Okay.
Okay, what happened is, if it don't crank up, what I have to do, leave the switch on, and then I lift the hood up, and the two fans, the cooling fans, one come on all the time when you turn the switch. But the second one for the air conditioning, it comes on, and then it'll run, for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then all of a sudden, the gas, so it'll shoot some gas through there, like the jets. It'll come through, say, and then all of a sudden it'll crank up.
Well, it sounds to me, no, okay, number one, that you have multiple problems. So, number one, that no fan should come on when you turn the key on with the engine off.
Okay, when I turn the switch, okay, number one fan will come on.
It shouldn't come on
all the time.
If the engine that will kill the alternator on that car. The electric fans on the automobile should not come on when you turn the key to run. Now there's some air injection devices, but we're talking about the cooling fans on a radiator. You have two, so neither of those fans should come on. You're telling me that if you go out in the morning, first thing, and turn the key on, that fan's going to run before you even start the engine. That's what you're saying, right?
Right. As I turn it, the number one fan will come on, but the second fan won't come on unless I run the air conditioner.
Well, granted. Well, both of them should come on when you're running AC. But the bottom line, so there's a problem right there. I'm not saying that problem is connected to your starting to fire up problem, but definitely there's a problem that should be fixed. And now what it is, now once I just keep the ignition switch on for about 5 to 6 minutes. Right.
I have the hood lifted up. I can hear when the gas come up there.
I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there. Okay. Okay, but Jim, I hear you. I'm just addressing line items because you have some problems that need to be repaired that are in addition to your won't start problem. Number one, the fan should not come on. That's number one. That needs to be looked at. Number two, it sounds to me as though you have a delayed, let's say we turn the key on. It sounds to me as you have a delayed fuel pump. However, that fuel pump only receives a signal to run 3/4 of a second when you go to turn the key. When you turn the key from off to run, not crank, but from off to run, there's a 3/4 of a second. Bzzz, that's it. Bzzz, that's it. So every time you cycle the key, you should hear the fuel pump run. Can you tell me, and you should hear that from the driver's side.
Now the fluid pump, when I get ready to, before I crank it up and turn it, I hear the fluid pump in the back. It's shooting up there. The fluid pump is working. So up under the hood up there where it's spraying into the jets spraying up there, it'll take about 4 or 5 minutes.
That doesn't. You are confusing multiple problems, and that jet, whatever it is you're talking about, the jet has it. I mean, you could say Hail Marys and walk around the car for 5 minutes and come back, and there's an electronic problem, but there's no such thing as a. I mean, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, it will once you've discovered it, but like a lot of electronic problems or deficiencies or shorts or delays or relays. So you could have a relay sticking, and then finally it unsticks, and then that causes other problems to feedback. So here's what I suggest. I suggest that you take it to a shop and have them to find out and check the relay circuit why that fan is running first, because that is an issue that can be fixed because it's there all the time, unlike your hard to start problem it's not there all the time. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. And so you say, well, if it would start, I wouldn't mind if that fan is blowing. But the bottom line, in the process of repairing that fan, which is going to be much easier, no doubt, than finding your no fuel, or you think it's no fuel, but no start condition, they may well have fixed another problem that exists in the process of repairing what is. Stop the bleeding. That's what we say in our service shop. Stop the bleeding. A car comes in and it has multiple problems, but if the water pump's pouring or the fuel pump or the fuel line is pouring, the first thing that you do is stop the bleeding. It's triage. That's what you do. So you have your triage, your to-do is to stop that fan from coming on and running where the key is on when it should not be on. And in the process, lo and behold, this other problem may go away. That's what I would recommend, knowing what I know and not having the car in-house. Does that help you?
Okay. Yes, it does. I'm going to ask you another question. Put that car right there with it got a PC in it. Could it be hacked? Anybody could hack car. I know some cars could be hacked. Could that one be hacked?
Hacked?
Mm-hmm. You
No.
know, they got hackers
Your
out
car's
there.
not.
They can hack
Your
cars.
car's not hackable. Your 95 car's not hackable.
Okay.
No. Your 95 car is not hackable.
Okay.
No, don't worry. Okay. Hey, thanks for your call and good luck.
Oh,
Let me know what you
before
find.
you hang up, I just want to say this, because sometimes it have the security light will come on sometime. When it be running, the security light will flash.
Well,
on.
see, I suspect that you have a security issue because you mentioned that to start with the key and that. But first things first, fix that fan first, and then
Okay.
you know, and if you had a security issue, it wouldn't crank. And you didn't say it wouldn't crank. You said it wouldn't start.
Right.
And
right,
the crank
right,
is
right. Because sometimes sometimes I can go out there and put it in there, it'll crank right up. And then sometimes it'll run. And then
yeah.
sometimes it'll crank
But okay, all right. One more thing, then I got to go. It always cranks. Is that correct? It always does that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. So because if it had a security issue, the starter wouldn't start. It wouldn't turn over.
you're right about that.
Okay,
It
okay,
wouldn't
my
even
friend.
turn the
All
starter.
right,
You're
all right. Hey, as long as you and I are on the same page, you got your marching orders.
Okay.
Go fix that fan and call me back next week and say, hey, the problem went away when I fixed the fan. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Bob. I'm gonna let you know, Bob.
I expect that you should. Thank you, Jimmy. Good luck. There you go. See, that's the reason you can't fix cars over the air, but it's fun. Any way you look at it, it's still fun because you know what it's all about? And this is, so if you're in the business, folks, if technicians and shop owners, dealerships, listen. If you're in the business, that's what you have to do. You have to listen. And you have to make the points, and you have to guide people and get them back on track, and then see where best they should put their money. That's your job. We know how to fix cars, but we don't know as much about your car as you do. You know if it's doing something it never did before, if it vibrates or it smells or if it's something weird. You don't know what's wrong with it. You don't know what's wrong with it. You just know it's not right. So it's our job to figure out what's wrong with it. It's your job to communicate to us what it's doing you don't like or that it did not do before. And that's a part of our industry, number one, that people don't do. Our industry doesn't do that. You're a number. It's her. Get them in, get them out. Get them in, get them out. That really bothers me. It really does. And we don't do that at our service shop, at Bobby Likis Car Clinic Service Pre-Repair, because we care. I'm going to come back and take Tom's call, and then from Louisiana, Joanna. So stay tuned.
Today's new product spotlight is on Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs. Your vehicle's spark plugs deliver the electric current needed to ignite the fuel that runs your engine. But not all spark plugs are the same. Denso is proud to introduce the Iridium TT spark plug. Iridium is in the platinum family and is the most corrosion-resistant metal known on Earth, resisting wear and oxidation in the harshest of environments. The TT stands for twin tip. This technology promotes the largest spark energy concentration and explosion possible by shrinking the two electrodes and thus reducing spark interference. The result is better fuel economy, more power, and faster starts, all while reducing carbon emissions. Taking things a step further, Denso developed a proprietary 360-degree laser welding process which creates a high-quality bond that ensures structural support. Denso has a tradition of innovation. Using their OE expertise, Denso products are manufactured to give you the right part and the right fit the first time, every time. Learn more about Denso's Iridium TT spark plugs at densott.com.
If you're a single man under the age of 35, you'd probably like to know what the ladies are looking for on an online dating site. A guy who had a few drinks and later got pulled over for buzzed driving. See, that could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And doesn't a guy who's back living with his parents but calls them my roommates just scream Mr. Right?
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
What's grinding you? Your brakes? Don't succumb to that daily grind. Stop it with Carlson. Whether you're a DIYer or a brake professional, choose Carlson quality brake hardware kits for the highest quality materials and processes. Carlson controls the design, engineering, and manufacturing of all their brake hardware, ensuring proper fit and performance. Why risk your brake job with inferior brake hardware that may not fit or perform properly? Eliminate the risk by asking for Carlson quality brake hardware kits for every brake job.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
Some original thinking by Starbucks barista Frank Botex.
What I love most is getting customers to smile in the morning. Starbucks is just a place to come and relax, kick your feet back. I mean, it's a second home. Starbucks is now in a grocery store, and what better way to just become your own personal barista at home? You go to the grocery store, pick up some coffee, take it home, let the aroma take over your body.
Your favorite Starbucks coffee, at grocery, at home, at last.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment. Let's get started. Tom from South Carolina on hold. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Bobby.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you about I got a 2009 Prius, and I've got the use of a ramp, or a hoist, I mean. What's the difficulty of changing the water pump on that?
You know, that's gosh, I have to search now, but we had one of those to come in. We recently, not recently, about a year ago, we had a Prius that came in, and it belonged to a young lady, as I remember, and there were multiple steps involved in either the serpentine belt or the water pump. And I don't specifically remember, but maybe it's been a couple of years ago, but it was not easy. And because it was not easy, we proposed that while we're in there, we wanted to replace a tensioner and the belt, and maybe it was a water pump, and we wanted to put a tensioner and a belt because we were right there, or maybe it was a tensioner and a belt, and we wanted to put a water pump. I don't remember that, Tom, but I do remember that there was some, not trick, but there was some procedure involved in that specific operation. So the quick answer is I don't know. The truth is there's more to it than meets the eye, because I remember it sticking And I remember that this person did not have us perform it because all they wanted was the cheapest way out, and I didn't agree with that philosophy because once I opened that area, then I own the job. It's just the way I am. And so if I'm going to be in there, I'm going to fix what not only is broken in there, but I'm going to fix things that you have to. It's like doing an open heart surgery and you do one bypass and the patient wakes up and, hey, everything was a success. And by the way, you need a dual bypass. We're going to go back in 6 weeks, right? No, that ain't going to happen. So to answer your question, what have you done with research, regarding to research?
Well, the dealer said that there's a pink, they could see the pink fluid on the outside of it.
No, but I mean with regard to changing the water pump, because that's a question that, what have you done there?
Well, it sounds to me like it looks like it'd be pretty simple to do. I mean, as far as what I can come up with.
Well, how many hours did they quote you, or did they quote you?
Well, a guy quoted me 2 hours at $60 an hour.
Okay, that's fine. Pay him.
That's not the dealer. That was another guy. The dealer wanted almost $500 to change it, and that's the pump on the outside. There's 2 pumps. This is the one on the outside.
Well, I want you to make sure that you're comparing apples to apples, because we get this thrown at us all the time. We are very specific. In fact, we have held regular meetings with regard to people calling and saying, what do you charge for this? It is a common problem in our industry. So our answer is, what is the VIN number? And invariably the caller will say, what? What is the VIN number? Well, why do you need the VIN number? Because that's the birth certificate of the automobile, and there could be 2 different water pumps or 2 different widgets or whatever it is that we're talking about. And then, just like I mentioned before we got into the meat of your question, which the meat of your question is, you've got one mechanic saying 2 hours, $60 an hour, and a dealer saying $500. You're not comparing apples to apples. I guarantee you the dealer's going to do more because the dealer's been there, done that. What you need to do is you need to go face to face and say, help me to understand why I should pay you $500 when somebody else quotes me $120 plus the parts. Because you see, there may be a fluid exchange, a coolant exchange. There may be, like I mentioned before, some other pieces and components that they know through their experience needs to be replaced because you're down in that hole. So I'm always suspicious when somebody uses, and anybody in the business can beat somebody else's price. So you have to, number one, find a shop that you trust and go with that shop. And if you have a problem, you've got a rapport with that shop. So it's a Bobby and Tom, just like you and I are talking. And if we were doing business together, this is the way it would be. And if that didn't work for you, that's fine. You could, my friend, you could take your car someplace else. Now, I don't mean that to be crass. I'm just saying I know because of 44 years in the business what it takes. Now, can somebody charge $10 or $12 less per hour? Sure. Can they take some of the profit off the part? Sure. But the bottom line is, in the long run, you need someone that cares and has records of your vehicle, and actually you need the same technician to work on your vehicle time after time after time, so that person knows what he or she did the last time, and then they already know before the car comes in what's been done, what hasn't been done. So again, Tom, what I would say to you is, have a face-to-face visit with the dealer and say, help me to understand this, because here's what Tom, Dick, and Harry is telling me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but now I want to make one comparison.
Okay.
That car is notorious. That Prius is notorious for burning out headlights.
Okay.
And the first time it happened, I go to the dealer and they say, and this is the Toyota dealer, they say we have to pull the fender and bumper up to change the light bulb. That's not true. You don't pull because I've changed them since then. So they'll tell you one thing. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And when you're saying that, we had a car come in this week. I'm trying to think. We had a car come in this week that the directions said you had to pull the front fascia to get the headlight. And you could see, and I forget what kind of car it was, but you could see the 2 bolts that held the headlight assembly from under the hood, but you couldn't see the bottom ones, and you couldn't get to them. But we were able to change that, and I think that was an $80 job, as best I remember. And I happened to talk to the customer, and I was showing him the studio, and we were enjoying each other's company, and we were talking about how long it would take to fix the car. I said, well, it doesn't matter. Let's go look at, we were talking, and we just had a rapport for some reason. I don't know. I mean, I like people, so we were talking, and the bottom line, the book told us to remove the front of the car, and we did not remove the front of the car. But had we gone by the book, and had we not had the experience, so I suspect that initially, of course, you would think the dealer would know better. So maybe you do need to find another shop. I agree. Now, having said that, to that end, we had a lady come in with a Land Rover, and I walked up to the service desk, and Guy, right in the driveway, he didn't even pull the car in his stall, took the grill and both headlight assembly, and he put one of these headlight assemblies up on my workspace there, and I said, what is this? This is your workbench now, to where I write and meet and greet customers? Oh, and he just laughed, and he's kind of a neat young man, and he's funny. But the bottom line, we did have to pull the buckets to get to, and these were 25,000 volt xenon lights. And what I liked about the Land Rover was that the amplifier was clocked, and you could twist it and pull it off and get to the bulb, and the bulb was about 2.5 inches long once you had the assembly out of the vehicle. But it wasn't hard to get the assembly out, so that's easier than what it may appear to be. In your case, my concern is that you called a shop that didn't see the car, so I think you need to visit a shop and get a face-to-face and have a better relationship than you have, whether it's the dealer or the independent. And I'm always suspect of somebody to give you a price over the phone without seeing your car. Doesn't work for me.
All right. We'll give it a try.
Okay. All right. Thank you. See, that may not be what he wanted to hear, but that doesn't matter. That's the way it is in the industry. So if you're in the business, don't let car owners influence you to say things that you know they want to hear. Have the stamina, and there's a better word for it, but have the guts to stand up and say, if this is my car, this is how I would do the job. And if they're looking for a fast-in, fast-out service, let them take their car someplace else. Because ultimately, you can't do an operation, you can't speed up the operation. Why is there never time to do the job right the first time and always time to do it over? That's a saying that's been around for a long time. Okay, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
In our chat room for Watch Bobby Live, I said we would take calls, so I understand that our questions. We have a question.
We do, from Captain Jim in Nevada. He has a question. He says, I'm paraphrasing, on a cold morning when you first start your car, it idles fast, about 1,000 to 1,200 RPMs. The question is, can you damage your automatic transmission if you shift into reverse or drive before the engine slows to normal idle?
That is a fantastic question. You could, if you had an older car that was looking for an excuse to brake, and older cars, as parts get old, motor mounts, let's say motor mounts, for example, because if you have the engine revving up and you put it in gear, it's going to bam into gear. So yes, that would, for a car that has age on it, not be healthy to do. So I would not recommend doing that. That's a great question. And to that end, when I fire my car in the morning, I fire it first. Then I push the button that overrides the start-stop because I don't like that feature. I push the steering wheel heater because I love that feature. Then I put my seatbelt on, and then I put the windows up and close the hatchback because I always put my windows down and let my car breathe in the garage. And then by that time, the engine has slowed. So Captain Jim, and for all of you folks out there, I do not use the word never, but I cannot remember when I ever put a car into gear when it was in its fast idle mode. Neither should you. So how interesting. Now, I see that Joanna and Victor and Jay are on the phone. I'm going to come back from the break and take your calls, but because of time constraints, I don't have time to get into that. So here's what I'm going to do. Is Apple actually building a car? Well, they just registered apple.car domain. And just recently, they registered 3 automotive domains. And so why would they do that if they weren't building a car? They registered apple.car, apple.cars, and apple.auto. Now, these domains aren't actually active yet. They may be for the Apple's CarPlay system, but the bottom line, they've been hiring people away from Tesla Motors and Fiat and automobiles and battery supplier A123 Systems en masse. More when I come back.
I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Of all the races in which Americans enjoy competing, the one that we all can win is independence from foreign oil. The American ethanol industry is not only significantly stepping up the pace today, producing an estimated 13.9 billion gallons in 209 ethanol biorefineries in 29 states, but also helping to pave the way tomorrow for standalone or greenfield and advanced and cellulosic ethanol biorefineries. Scores of ethanol technology companies are already into the demonstration phase of production, proving that technology to convert everything from corn stalks to grasses to garbage to algae are viable. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
You can call them used. You can call them previously driven. You can call them anything you want. The point is somebody, maybe even a dozen somebodies, owned the car before you did. And before you put down your hard-earned dollars for the car, you deserve to know exactly where it's been. Get a vehicle history report from Carfax.com. They'll give you the real history of any used car. Visit CARFAX.com or ask your dealer for a Carfax report. Don't buy a used car without Carfax.
I, Dennis Walker, pledge allegiance to the roof. I know it'll be clean, I know it will be comfortable, and I know that if the phone rings when I'm in the shower, I can just let it ring, for I have voicemail. Red Roof Inn, one room, under budget, with free cable and local calls for all.
98% of Red Roof guests are so satisfied with their visit, they plan to come back. Now that's not just loyalty, that's allegiance. For reservations, call 800-RED-ROOF.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment. I closed out the last segment with information about Apple actually building a car or not. And as of September of 15, there were as many as 600 people that were already working on a project called Titan. And it had been given the green light for production. So indeed, I think Google is in the process of, well, now, will they build the car? Or, and the evidence is pointing toward that, yes. But whether they'll manufacture the car or contract it out, that's entirely a different question. So the information that I bring to you on the Apple information was courtesy of Motor Authority. And you can go to motorauthority.com for more information. Also, I would like for you to like us on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest. You simply go to facebook.com/Bobby Likis, Likis. The same thing for Pinterest.com/ and Google Plus. And one of the neatest, I think, is we have our Pinterest board in the shop. We have a lot of boards there, but in the shop is really neat because there are pictures of cars in various forms of disassembly, and it shows what caused problems. And you would be really shocked. And for those of you who are, as the gentleman I talked to from South Carolina was calling around and getting prices for cars, and that's fine. I can understand why, but it wouldn't hurt for you to get an idea of what's involved in some of the repairs. Now, we don't have videos or photos for all repairs, only what has been taken at our shop. But go to pinterest.com/Bobby Likis and in the shop board, and then you'll see some really neat pictures. From Louisiana, Joanna, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
How are you?
Hi.
I love listening to your show.
Aww.
I've done it many times.
Aww.
Would you like to get straight to the point?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The problem right now is electrical, and it's that my doors on my Windstar will not unlock with the electronic locks on either side, on either door, except for the driver's side. If it weren't for the driver's side, I would have been locked in my car yesterday. Of course, I guess I could pull the door handle to get out, but the point is, it's not a good thing. It's not a good feeling to know, and it's hard. And now I'm having trouble getting. How do I open the back door if I can't unlock it?
Right. Can you tell me? Here's what I would like for you to do. I would like for you. In fact,
I can give you a lot of detail, and I can do it right now, and I think it'll help you a lot.
Well, let me just say this: we had an expedition in yesterday. We had an excursion in yesterday, and I went to, and the lady had parked it out front, and I walked out to get it to bring it into the shop, and I pushed the key fob, and nothing happened, and I tried the rear door, and nothing happened, and I looked over at the little knob that was, the part of the knob where you can reach and pull it up, and because this car had that, and I could see it kind of nod its head, but it would not unlock. None of those would work, but they were getting their signal because you could see they were nudged, but they still didn't work. And the bottom line, there inside, Joanna, there's an actuator, and those actuators are nothing more than like a starter solenoid, an electric solenoid that pushes rams one way or rams another way, and one way locks and another way unlocks, and they just reverse the polarity. Can you hear now, because your driver's side works? Can you perhaps on the right side listen with your ear while you're trying to use the electric door lock for the passenger side, and can you hear something going tick tick inside the door panel?
I believe I did. Let me say this: the theft light is coming on, and it might be related to. Is that possible? It's related to theft because if the car wants to stay locked. Is that possible?
No, ma'am. Well, no, that doesn't make sense because when you have the key fob, anything's possible except this: if you can use the key fob to unlock the driver's door, and the other doors do not work.
No, I can't. Can I give you a little bit of history?
Yeah, sure.
I haven't been able to use a key fob in a long time. Let me give you a little history.
Okay.
So you know what's going on. I was getting a drain on my battery.
Okay.
And so I took it to a mechanic who I thought I could trust. Turns out I couldn't. But he looked for the drain, and he finally tells me that it's the rear electronic module, and that there's some kind of short, and he pulls that fuse out. And the rear electronic module, one of the things it does is it helps the sliding doors to open and close easily. But they hadn't been working for a long time. I mean, the doors opened and closed, but they didn't the motor to help him didn't work for a long time.
Right.
So I was really surprised when he told me that that's where the drain was coming from. Why all of a sudden? So anyway, so he pulled it out. Well, I took my car back to get a window repaired, and when I got my car back from him, and there was also a brake job in between.
Okay.
Well, when I got my car back from him just before Christmas, it was doing the exact same thing. It was as if the fuse, which he pulled, and by the way, that's how he fixed it, because I couldn't afford the $600 job, so he just pulled the fuse. And by the way, when he pulled the fuse, one of the things that happened was that I couldn't, at night, the dashboard wouldn't light up. So I couldn't see how fast I was driving and stuff like that. And I told him about that, but he didn't act like that was, anything that he could do about it. And I thought that was odd. And then just before Christmas, it starts doing the exact same thing again. And one of the ways I knew that it was the exact same thing was that before, when it did it, I took the negative head off the battery until I was able to go get it fixed so it wouldn't drain my battery. And when I would put the negative head back on, immediately the headlights would come on, even though the headlight knob was on off, and the fan blowers would start blowing. And so guess what? It's doing the exact same thing. I take it to him for a brake job and a window fix, and I get my car back, and it's doing the exact same thing that it was doing before, when the problem was the short in the rear electronic module.
And
he'd simply pulled the fuse.
And so did he put the fuse back in?
Yeah, but here's the problem. In the meantime, I had lost the manual to my car. So I thought, okay, I don't know which fuse it is. No big deal. I'll just go over there, tell him the problem. In 5 minutes, he'll pull this fuse out. And I gave him an excuse for this reason. My radio hasn't worked in a long time, and I had asked him to try to get that going, and that had to do with the fuse box too. And so, because I had a good radio, it wasn't the radio. And so when he was fixing my window, I said, would you try to, so I said, okay, well, maybe he was trying to mess with the fuses to fix the radio.
Wait, stop. Johanna. Okay, you can pull her back up.
I'm just going to go over there
and
tell him the fuse.
Wait, my dear. Joanna, we have to have this conversation off air. This is an electronic nightmare. And so
well, let me just say this much.
Okay.
I actually ended up repairing it myself, but this is one of the things I want you to know. I want you people to hear this, because I'm a woman, and sometimes mechanics lie to women. Do you know what actually happened? I drove my car over there, but this guy tried to tell me I needed a new fuel pump. And while I was there, he messed with the fuse box, and he clearly pulled the fuse for the fuel pump.
Right.
And then the car started backfiring and sounding terrible. But I knew there was nothing wrong with my fuel pump. I drove the car over there, and it ran like a top. And so what I did is I had to leave it there that night. But
what did you do to fix it? What did you do? There's too much time here. I want you to tell a story, but what did you cut to the chase? What did you do to fix the car?
Well,
You're telling me the doors worked?
Another mechanic. They proved to me that there was nothing wrong with the fuel pump. They weren't able to fix it. I took it home, and I got my schematic. I was able to get my schematic online on my fuse box, and I pulled the fuse that needed to be pulled. And when that happened, I no longer had a drain on my battery. And I thought everything. I also found the fuse for the instrument panel, which wasn't lighting up, and I put that back in.
Okay.
And my question is this.
Okay.
Is the reason why they had pulled the instrument panel fuse out, did that have anything to do with why the doors would suddenly start locking? Another thing, that I did take it somewhere else, and we did take some fuses out and put them back in, but the thing is we put them all back in. But for some reason, all of a sudden, the doors are doing this.
It's too much. Your explanation of your experience, and now you've thrown in the fact that you went to another shop and you're talking fuel pump, and you're talking door slides. You're talking about certain circuits on the car that aren't even connected, and there's a confusion. The main thing, but you listen to me now. I listen to you, now you listen to me. And I say that with sincerity. You've got to have, number one, somebody knows what they're doing. Number two, you got to trust somebody. Number three, nobody's going to start. That you can pull a fuse to stop a draw if you've got an interior light circuit that's not working. But that in that interior light circuit could be the dash lights. Granted, that makes sense. But that would have nothing to do with the door locks working. You see, what does make sense with a lot of what you're talking about is called a body control module, because in your O2 Ford and all O2 cars, all 96 and up, the body control module controls a lot of these functions. So it's my concern that you've got an electronics, quote unquote, problem with the body control module, and people have been beating around the bush. Number one, they didn't know what they were doing, obviously. Number two, there's been a lack of communication, obviously. And number three, as far as being a woman, I'd rather talk with a woman 10 times than any man, because you ask questions and men don't. They think they already know what's wrong with the car. So in the real world, bring me the broken cars and bring me all the women in the world, because I love to speak with them and converse with them. So I want you to know that. I'm going to put you back on hold, and Miss Jan's going to get your email address, and then we can continue this. But in the interest of other listeners, I just can't go any further. Now let's go to Jay in Illinois. Jay, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You're going to tell a story, or you're going to ask me a question?
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bitty tiny short story, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
All right, good.
And I must say that you're a very, very patient man.
Well, you know, because women do think, and I'll turn the mic back to you in the interest of time. Yes, the industry has talked down to women, but I'm sick and tired of hearing it, because we don't do that. And the industry, that's old speak. And are there some people that still do that? Yes, but by and large, our industry doesn't do that anymore. That's old stuff. It's crap, and it's not true. And I just want you to know that. So I invite women. I like them because I like women, number one. Number two, they ask questions. And so you always have this first excuse, you know. I took a video yesterday of an excursion, this very excursion, because the right front wheel had 2.5 inches of play in it, and I've got the video on my phone. I sent it to this owner, who said, I just want you to change the oil and filter in the car, and this was a 177,000-mile excursion. And I said, who is responsible for the upkeep of this car? My husband makes the decisions. Make sure you send this video to him. We in the industry can't do our job because owners don't want their cars fixed because there's no state inspections. By the same token, how much do you pay? How much do you spend on it? You got to trust somebody. I'm passionate about this, as you know. I'm going to turn the mic to you now, Jay.
Very good, very good. And I agree with you.
I
understand what you're saying.
Thank you, sir.
I have an '84 Corvette. It sits in the garage most of the winter, of course, but I take it out and drive it, you know, occasionally, at least every 2 weeks or maybe 3 or 4 weeks at the most. But anyway, it started now draining the battery.
Okay.
And when I open the door with no key in it,
mm-hmm.
when I open the door, the courtesy lights come on as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I close the door, they flash constantly. All of the courtesy lights inside the car, and they flash in unison with the dashboard light that says security. Now, all I want to know from you is, where do I start looking for that problem? You know,
probably. Let's see. Gosh, electronics are so. There's so many different avenues, and what. The first thing that I would do is I would go to the headlight knob that allows you to turn the interior lights on constantly,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and turn them on, and get out of the car and shut the door, and see if
mm-hmm.
that overrides that switch. I mean, that switch should override that flash, and then see if the security warning light still flashes. You can do this with still sitting in the car, as long as the car doesn't know you're sitting in it. You know, no key in the car.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
So turn the headlight. Bypass that whatever's caused it to flash. Definitely, there's the security circuit that is causing the problem, because the interior lights are not supposed to flash even in an emergency flashing situation. That tells me that there's either a module that is connected, or in the case of an 84, it's a ground issue. And so that's what I would look for. Folks, Victor, I'm sorry I can't get to your call. We had an extended conversation today. Please tune in next week, and let's start over again on Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Let's go to the Car Clinic mailbag. Here's a question from Bill in Boise. Dear Bobby, I'm a long-time listener and appreciate all your advice. I know you saved me a bunch of money over the years. Over the weekend, I was cutting and splitting firewood using my Stihl 880 Magnum saw. Love that saw. And my neighbor came over to check out the commotion. He asked if I was going to put a K&N filter on it. I have K&N filters in my vehicles, but do they make a filter for my chainsaw? Thanks, Bill. We do our best to help save you money and keep your vehicles in top condition. As a matter of fact, K&N does make oil and air filters for many small engine applications, including one for your saw. It's possible K&N makes an air filter for your log splitter, too. To find out, visit knfilters.com, check on air filters and cleaning, drill down to the industrial small engine category, and see if your engine make and model is listed. And while you're on knfilters.com, drive around and look into all the great K&N products for your vehicles and small engine equipment. That's knfilters.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning, happy morning, your name is Folgers, my